been passing around this video around here the last couple of days of Fabhino, a Brazilian soccer star who's now playing. Here's the video. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. He's now playing in Saudi Arabia, and things are a little different over there. Apparently, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a journalist or a fan or something.
There's conflicting reports, whether it be, but it is not a representative of Al Ittihad, the club that Fabhino now plays for. Plays alongside Conte there, Karim Benzema, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner. Boy, I mispronounced that. Ballon d'Or. Ballon d'Or. Yeah. I always want to make it a balloon.
$5.
So, I mean, for those who are not watching, they didn't see what happened, but he just received a watch. A very expensive Rolex watch, just handed to him by either a fan or a journalist or whatever.
Some are saying it's a 700,000 pound. That's it. That's a currency.
It's
It's a currency. Rolex. Well, we bring in a resident watch guy, wristwear expert, Tony.
It feels like a Rolex. It's a sporty Rolex with a rubber strap. I like this, Billy. What are you trying to say? Like, I like watches.
Yep.
What's the problem? Learn, read a book, do something.
Read a
Instead
book.
of complaining about everybody being
You read
everything.
the book
Jesus
of watches?
Christ.
I mean,
Tony, educate him.
Anyways, it was a sporty. I'm looking at the video here. It's a sporty Rolex with a rubber strap that the journalist doesn't like put together, and then it just falls off his wrist. I can't get the exact model, but it could be like a James Cameron with a rubber strap. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Fabhino looks pretty stunned by this.
Yeah, and he looks pretty happy for a man who's made millions of dollars playing football. If he was getting handed a cheap-ass Timex, I'm not sure he'd be as excited, but I think this goes in line with all the money that Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all the kind of Middle East countries are throwing out around sports. It's kind of shocking to all of us over here. We're seeing it happen. It's funny. It's uncomfortable. It's weird. But I think right now Fabhino is pretty happy. He just got $750,000 just handed to him out of nowhere, and he can join a bunch of these other players who are getting pretty – I feel like getting rich is the wrong word. There's another word for what's happening.
Don't hold us to the total that's been out there. These are all aggregate sites, and no one actually knows. One thing is for certain, that's a Rolex.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And that's a lot better than getting handed like a corporate beer-sponsored aluminum ball.
Yeah. But I think what he's happy about, it's just a general look he has on his face since he has that much money, right? It's not the Rolex.
I don't know.
I think
it's just wild.
Rolex,
it's just wild because he didn't know this man. By all reports, and we keep saying journalists, like that seems like an oxymoron, but journalist or fan or whatever, it's just a random dude handing this man expensive ass watch for walking by. That seems
walking by.
But it wasn't even like the man of the match was like an official like team sponsor Rolex man of the match. You get X. Like nah, he's like, hey, good work out there, bruh. Let me see your wrists.
You're definitely not a journalist if you're giving someone a watch.
I was going to ask, how much are journalists making over there?
That's not who that person is.
In Argentina, they used to give men of the match an actual Burger King crown.
Wow.
Like the paper ones?
Like the paper cardboard Burger King
I love
crown.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep your crown. Give me that watch. But not over there. I am not going to be like the NBA players.
There is actually there's a social media account that I follow that's like worst man of the match prizes. And sometimes like people have been given a live chicken.
It's great, delicious, useful.
Fresh egg.
I'd rather have a live chicken than a Burger King crown, I think.
I saw someone get
debatable.
Someone was awarded a copy of Crash Bandicoot on PlayStation.
I love Crash Bandicoot. That's a good.
So many places to go. I love chickens. I love Crash Bandicoot. I also was hoping that we would talk about all the money that is, and not just money. I think the money is, we're past being shocked by the money that's being thrown at some of these soccer players to play over there. But the, I guess, perks that it's like of the stories that you guys have been reading recently, does anybody have one of the perks that jumped out to them as extra special?
So a lot of people have actually been saying, wow, Neymar has access to a private jet whenever he wants. Neymar, one of the most famous footballers on the planet, he actually had that perk over in PSG. So that's met with a big yawn. Yeah. So here's the reported list of all the benefits Neymar will receive in playing for Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia.
These are Neymar's perks, just
Perks.
Neymar's.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is in addition to his salary.
Okay.
Which I think he got a
$300 million.
300 million.
Yeah, which
2 years, right?
Like a weekly wage,
Yeah.
he's making 6 times as much as he used to at PSG, and he was one of the world's richest footballers prior to. So he gets a home with 25 bedrooms,
Right.
a 40 by 10 meter swimming
In the
pool,
Carolinas.
and 3 saunas. Business is booming right now.
Yeah.
5 full-time staff for his home, a Bentley Continental GT, an Aston Martin DBX, a Lamborghini Huracan, a 24-hour driver. I mean, I don't think you need a 24-hour driver in Saudi Arabia. But if anybody can put that theory to the test, it's going to be Neymar. All bills for hotels, restaurants, and various services during his off days will be sent to the club headquarters and are to be paid. Wow. The private plane at his disposal for all his travels. 500,000 euro for each social media post that promotes Saudi Arabia.
Wow, that's the one.
Oh my gosh.
That's the one. That's the one.
All of this is in addition to his
What if you
100
go like on
million
a
euro
20
salary.
a 20 tweet spree in a day? Like you're good. Here's just an extra $10 million.
Are they capping it?
Well, I think.
Yeah, like what if you do like
I don't
Saudi
think there's any
Arabia
cap.
a thread?
Are they forcing it?
Zero cap with Saudi Arabia.
Wait, but that's the one in what regard? Like, that's where you draw the line? You can't do that.
No, I mean, it's just mind blowing to me that
Well, it doesn't need to do it.
whether he needs to do it or not, it's just mind blowing to me that they would be like, hey, just say nice things about us on the internet. Well, I guess it makes sense. There's nothing more valuable to the Saudi regime at this point than some good press.
I wonder how long players are going to actually be in Saudi Arabia for, because they're getting paid beyond their wildest dreams in these short doses. And I wonder if they're footballers from smaller clubs. If you look at a lot of the signings, a lot of those players, not unlike the rest of the leagues in the world, but they come from humble beginnings. Mm-hmm. And it seems as though people are making the conscious decision, like, I'm going to go get paid a boatload of money, which a lot of people do. I'm no shame in that. I'm going to set up my generational wealth, and then maybe I'll be back in 2 years, maybe I won't, and I'll do something that's a little bit more fun. Because Messi made the decision, I've got a lot of money,
right,
and I want to have joy in my life. And I already had the deal where if I post positively for Saudi Arabia on social media, they'll give me money for it anyways. So I'd rather have a certain quality of life. And players like Sergio Busquets for Inter Miami had Saudi Arabia as an option. Jordi Alba had Saudi Arabia as an option, but they were at different stages in their career, and they decided, I just want to have.
But I think that's the key, right? Like with some of the golfers who went to live, like Phil Mickelson, what choice did he have? Who's offering Phil Mickelson $300 million at 51 years of age?
Especially when he's burning through $1 billion.
What choice did he have?
No, but I'm saying it's different for him.
Poor Phil Mickelson.
Well, guys, he's gambled a lot away. He needed the money.
What
clearly.
choice did he have? Because he gambled
No,
his
but
money
Jess,
away.
your age is very
He's not
crucial.
growing up in a favela.
It's easy to say now. When you're Brooks Koepka, you can criticize that. But if you're 51 and you're way past your prime, and someone says, hey, here's $300 million, Jess, I promise you'd think about it. You would.
Yeah, but she has to think about it, as you said. That's a difference between
just think that-
Listen,
you left me no choice.
I didn't want to say she'd do it, but I left it to think
I
about.
wouldn't do it. I would never say that. I don't know what I would do if I were presented with that opportunity. No one that's not the point I'm making. I'm pointing out the fact that you said
he didn't have a choice.
Does Mickelson have?
Well, I mean,
that's an absurd thing to say.
If you want to make $300 million at the age of 51, that was your only choice. But you're right.
He literally
right,
went back
Jess.
and forth on the decision.
Whoa, I said you're
that-
right. Leave me alone. I mean, jeez.
I know you're mad about the Mecole Hardman thing. I'm sorry.
I'm not.
I didn't mean to make fun of you.
Merkel. It's a fine.
It was just funny because you made it sound like, hey, have you guys heard of this player? We all know who he is.
Well, I was trying to clarify if I was
I know,
saying his name.
But Rio Ferdinand.
And you would take the 300 million.
Rio Ferdinand touched on this, and he actually brought in like international
about him.
reputation. Do you know who Rio
That's what
Ferdinand
my
is?
Twitter rate already is.
You probably don't. Rio Ferdinand's a Manchester United legend, great footballer in his own right. And he actually took a pretty interesting angle on it, too. He's like, what makes the U.S. so great? We're talking about human rights reputations and all this. Like, they have their own problems. And if you look at the quality of football, I'd certainly jump at the chance to go to Saudi Arabia. Now, I don't believe Rio Ferdinand has watched a lot of the quality football in MLS or Saudi Arabia. I'm doing my best to educate myself and watch the level of play. It's hard to get a gauge on it. For whatever reason, people have made this a budding rivalry. Why go to MLS? Saudi Arabia is a much better league. I'm like, who has watched this league enough to formulate an opinion?
Yeah.
I want to know the expert.
The question's not about the league capability. It's about like aligning yourself or assisting in what everyone has accepted as some level of sports watching. And I think the only valid defense for these players is like, I'm a football player. I'm not here to have political battles, to fight political battles, or
it's also selfish of us too, because Messi caught flack for this, Beckham caught flack, and a lot of people were projecting their American moralities when it comes to the Middle East and other countries when they come from different places with different histories. I'm not making excuses for anybody, but I'm trying to talk this out why people look at things differently. Saudi Arabia executed 81 people over the weekend. It was a mass execution, and there's been plenty of think pieces written on how unfair their justice system is, and I'm sure the Rio Ferdinands of the world will turn around and say, well, the American justice system isn't so fair, is it? So there's a lot of finger pointing when it comes to this, and you can get picked off pretty quick if you want to get on your moral high horse, which is why Phil Mickelson was left with no choice.
I mean, it's a false equivalency and
Exactly.
also deflection. And also deflection. Like, that's what anybody who's in this is doing. And I think
we're like, what about Chicagoing world football?
And it's not the world football part, is the part that makes it complicated. Because I don't think anyone actually cares if they're playing at a C-level talent or B-level talent. They care about aligning themselves with a regime that is responsible for these bad things. And that's where it gets kind of complicated, where it's like, all right, there's a guy who, as you pointed out, has come from a favela, has an opportunity to make a lot more money. And, of course, he has an opportunity to make it elsewhere. Whether he wants to get involved in this or not is a choice. And there's a price to pay for all the choices that you make. And maybe the price is people are going to talk about you a little bit. And they probably don't give a damn, because clearly that's not what's important to them.
These world footballers have a different experience as professionals. Like, they're going to talk about me. I played for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
I dealt with the media there.
Yeah.
Your tweets mean nothing to me.
What? No choice.
It's my choice to shit on Phil Mickelson.
Lefty.